The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida. This is episode 5A of the Finding Florida podcast on the Florida Podcast Network, cruising into signature Key West, the preview.
Welcome to Finding Florida, the podcast that takes you from country to the coast. Join your tour guides, an unlikely pair, city girl Jemmy and country boy Glenn, as they explore the amazing sights and sounds of the Sunshine State.
Thank you for joining us on this lead up to our fifth adventure of the Finding Florida podcast. We are challenged to discover 10 signature things of Key West. And for the first time, we are taking you along with us on our journey to get there because we got to Key West
on a cruise!
That's right.
Oh my gosh, so much fun. So all of the audio from that super fun, ridiculously amazing adventure of cruising into Key West, oh my gosh, will be on the next episode 5B. And seriously, we had so much fun. So here are a few quick clips.
You can hear the boat in the back, and we just got done about 45 minutes of wild turns and rides with Jemmy screaming the entire time.
For me, I lost a doorknob and half a banana tree. That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
You did okay. We are witnessing firsthand that things are popping in Key West.
Oh my God!
And the alcohol is flowing.
Oh, and we need to go get some. Let's go get some.
And he sang with me.
Oh my God!
I would go. And he'd go.
All right, Romeo, you're not holding up your end of the bargain over here. Our mojitos were. Guys, I can barely talk at this point. I realize you're just kidding me now. We're going to go back to Duval Street and tear it up.
Tear it up.
At least I am. I don't know about that.
Let's find something to do on Duval Street. Something else signature. Yay! And Rose thinks we're crazy.
I know. She's looking at us like,
she's looking at us like, what are you doing here? Get out of my face.
She's literally looking back and forth and saying, me and Glenn, and me and Glenn, and me and Glenn. So as you can see, we had the best time. But on this episode, we're talking about cruising, which is one of Florida's biggest travel industries, by the way. Key West, our official stop for 5B. And as usual, we'll get into a whole bunch of other fun Florida stuff. Listen in.
We need the sunshine and palm trees of Florida.
Just a quick reminder for you to please follow us on social media. You can look us up on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram under Find FL Podcast. You'll be able to follow our adventures in real time over there, and we post a ton of pictures of our adventures as well.
Yeah, we do.
Or look us up on YouTube using the full show name, Finding Florida Podcast, where we'll post some behind-the-scenes footage and a little video over there for you.
I try to post as many embarrassing videos of Glenn as I possibly can.
Exactly.
So.
I don't know if there's never any of you. So.
When you have the keys, you're in charge. But anyways, we also want to thank all of you who send us comments, whether it's on social media or on our website or through email. You can email us, by the way, at Jemmy, Jaime, or Glenn, Glenn, at FloridaPodcastNetwork.com. We really appreciate all the notes, ideas, and feedback.
And recently we got this comment from a listener of ours. Her name is Ellen, and she's from New York. And she said, I love this podcast. So fun. Been to Florida many times.
We love you too, Ellen, by the way.
Been to many of these places, but never enjoyed them like in your podcasts. Jemmy's laugh is infectious and fabulous. So we've heard that from many people. I got to get back to visiting Florida. Cheers to the Finding Florida podcast. Well, thank you, Ellen. We appreciate that. We had several more comments too. We appreciate all of them. Don't forget to leave us a review also if you like us on iTunes or any place you listen to our show. So now let's get to this episode where we talk about the cruise industry, Key West, and one of the scariest cruises you have ever heard about, plus a mystery sound and some other stuff coming up on today's show. Let the adventure begin.
RSVP, your local travel agent. Don't just cruise the Caribbean. Cruise the Royal Caribbean.
Well, Florida is known for cruising, and because we have so many ports that people can cruise out of. We have Port Canaveral over by Orlando. We have Fort Lauderdale. We have Miami. We have Tampa. People leave out of St. Augustine.
Many. I was trying to count on a map of ports. I'm like, all right, I got bored. I can't keep counting.
There is so many, and a lot of people like obviously coming to Florida. They combine their cruising experience if they're from outside of Florida.
Yeah.
They combine their cruising experience with several days doing something else at the beach or going to the parks or whatever.
It's a huge impact on like hotels, airlines. It supports so many other industries too. Yeah. All works together.
For us that live in Florida, it's even better because we drive 2 hours or 3 hours and we're at the port and we're on a cruise.
Exactly. Or in my case, like 45 minutes.
It's like 10 minutes. She's on a boat either way, Fort Lauderdale or the
Palm Beach. I'm 20 minutes. I'm done. I'm off. I'm off and floating.
But you can do the quick cruises when you live in Florida. You can do the 3-nighters because you don't have to fly and stay overnight and all that stuff that other people have to do. So it's much better for us that live in Florida that way. Florida truly is a center for cruising in the United States. It's an $8 billion industry.
It blows my mind. It's huge.
It's huge. And, that takes into consideration the hotels and the airlines and everything else. But there are thousands and thousands. And we saw that when we left out of Miami on our cruise and we took Royal Caribbean, there were like 7 cruise ships parked there.
It was a conga line. It was a conga line getting into port.
And when we left, we were all lined up. It was truly like a dance. They all just...
It was crazy. We were like, well, there's that other ship again.
Counted 6 cruise lines. It wasn't just one. It was like 6 different cruise lines. So 60% of all cruise passengers in 2016 left from Florida ports. 60% of all cruise passengers from the United States left from Florida.
So I think it's safe to say that Florida ports are figuring it out and doing it right.
7 million people. Well, we'll talk about a little bit about that because I have a complaint about Miami's port.
What? Oh, yes, you do. It's legit. It is legit. We'll get into that.
Nearly 40% of all cruise-related employment in the U.S. happens right here in Florida. Wow. So just numbers are staggering.
If you're looking to have a job on a cruise, Florida's the place to be. In fact, we talked to my friend a little later who used to work on cruises out of Florida. So,
We'll see if we still want to do that after we talk.
A lot of the cruises have their headquarters here and everything, too. It's such a big industry.
Royal Caribbean started construction on its own terminal at the Port of Miami last spring, and we saw that construction was still going on when we were down there.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Can I do a complaint here about Miami, please?
Yes, please do, because we need to spread this message far and wide.
Learn how to make signs. My brother is in the sign business. I will give you his website. Go make some freaking signs that you can put up on the roads that lead to, so that when you're driving into the port, lots of signs getting into the port, no signs telling you where to turn to get to your ship. We drove around for a half an hour looking for the darn port. And then which ship, we couldn't find which ship because there were 12 lined up there and there's just no signs. And then, oh my God, this was, and Jemmy, you'll back this one up.
I'll back you up on this one because I did see a big marquee marking our cruise ship, but that you must have driven by, but I'll let that slide. But for what you're about to say next, 100% legitimate.
So we were driving in separate cars. I parked in the parking garage. Jemmy parked in the parking garage. It's a 4-story parking garage with no signage.
No signs. And we both thought we were on the second floor. Turns out we were both wrong.
But there were no signs. And you know how parking garages have levels within levels. Yeah. The second level is not really the level because there's like 4 levels within 2.5 level. And you know how most parking garages in most civilized places have like A, B, C, D on the columns, and some of them,
it's like a grid.
Disney, they even numbered the individual spaces so you could find it. No, there were no signs at all anywhere in the parking garage.
So we had a total Seinfeld episode reenactment of walking around that parking garage.
Your car first, but we could not find. She drove me around for half an hour till we found my truck.
You know what's really funny is you were so adamant that it wasn't in this particular corner that we never went down that area. And finally, I'm like, you know what, Glenn? We're just going to look. We're just going to look. And where was your truck? Where was it?
Right where you said it would be. It was ridiculous. I mean, just get some paint and paint ABC on the columns, something.
Because you have people like Glenn.
Oh. And it was a big garage. It wasn't a small garage either. It was a big You have to admit, it's the first parking garage you've ever seen where nothing was marked.
You know, I wonder where the people who work there park, because it didn't look like it was full enough for the people who work there, too. Well, I guess they're coming up off the cruise ship mostly, right? If they're going on like a 6-month contract, they're probably dropped off.
Please go to downtown Disney, to Disney Springs, and look at their parking garage and see how nice that is.
Yes.
Oh,
it is a wonder.
God.
I know.
Just find some paint. I'll paint it for you. I'm done.
So yes, this is the drama from a passenger's perspective, but we're going to talk and find out about the drama from cruise employees' perspective, because we had the opportunity to chat with someone very special, my friend Scotty Fusion, who listeners of my former podcast will remember from several episodes. He's a man of many talents. He's an actor, a magician, a photographer, and he spent about 15 years working on cruises as part of the entertainment crew. So back in the day, he shared this crazy story on the 67th episode of Curve the Cube. Let's take a listen, and then we will catch up with Scotty on the other side.
I worked on cruise ships for a long time, as you know.
Oh, that's right.
And the last cruise ship that I was on, I flew to Alaska, I boarded a ship, and then I went from Alaska to Russia and Russia to Japan. But on the way from Alaska to Russia, we were crossing the Bering Sea, and that's where they filmed Deadliest Catch.
Yes.
And have you ever seen it? I mean, they had
Right.
25-foot waves.
Yeah.
And this is a tiny ship. This isn't like one of these monster ones with a Ferris wheel inside. This is a small ship, maybe 300 passengers.
Oh,
you know?
no.
Tiny ship. And this thing was being tossed around like a cork in the ocean. And there was no land for like 5 days. And I was praying for death. I mean, if you go on to my YouTube, there's a video of me wearing my life jacket in the bathtub.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And I'm like, this is awful. It's horrible. I seriously, I prayed that I was going to die. So finally we got to Russia. I'm like, I'm just getting off the ship. And we couldn't get off the ship because we wound up getting surrounded by Russian submarines because they got a big heroin problem and they thought that we were smuggling stuff in. So we sat in.
When that happens.
Yeah, they wouldn't let us dock. They had submarines on either side of us. They boarded the ship with the Russian soldiers, and they went top to bottom of that ship for 2 days looking for something that they didn't find. So we couldn't even get off the ship in Russia.
Bananas.
And then going from Russia down to Japan, we hit a typhoon.
Oh, no.
And a typhoon is a hurricane.
It's a hurricane,
Where do I
right.
sign up?
It was the worst, like 14 days of my life. Like, hey, I'm going to Russia. I'm going to Japan. I didn't see Russia other than when I saw from my window. By the time I got to Japan, I'm like, get me to the airport and get me the frick home, you know? It was...
Oh, my God. So did you end up taking a flight?
Yeah, and I wound up flying home, and I have not been on a cruise ship since. And I worked for 15 years on ships, and that was the worst experience I've ever had.
So far, you've had a terrible experience that kept you from ever scuba diving.
Right? I don't dive
A terrible
anymore.
experience that kept you from flying for 5 years.
Right.
And a terrible experience that kept you off a cruise ship.
Right. You want to talk about my ex-wife? I'm surprised I got married again. Wow.
Good job for bringing him back around, Lindsay.
That's what's
Yep,
up.
she's my life jacket.
Aww. Well, whoa, that was a crazy, crazy cruise story. And as someone who's been on very few boats in her life and only one overnight, I can honestly say thank God. That wasn't our experience.
You don't want that to
Scotty,
be your
welcome.
first cruise. No.
I know.
No.
I know. Well, but for Scotty, as far as I understand, this was your last cruise after 15 years in the cruise industry. But hopefully it was a low light rather than a highlight of your 15 years. Tell me about your time in the cruise industry, Scotty.
Well, it certainly was both a low light and a highlight because you don't get stories like that every day, clearly.
Thank God.
And
No.
yeah, exactly. And I have to say, in my 15 years of being on the ship, most of the time it was pretty low-key, pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? Non-eventful, which is good. And
Yeah.
it seemed like the hurricanes and the weird weather and the crazy wars and stuff always seemed to really give great stories.
Yeah, because you get to see the world and all of that. And I know that a lot of people in Florida actually work for cruises. So what did you like about getting into working on a cruise ship? And what is something that people would be surprised about? working on a cruise ship?
Well, let me just back this up a little bit. There's two kinds of people who work on cruise ships. There's the ones who, no, really, there are. There's the kinds who start, who join or take a job on a cruise line, and they love it, and they are on for life. I mean, like I said, I did it for 15 years. I was one of the people that loved it.
Yeah.
But in my 15 years, I've learned that there was also the people that would come on for one contract and absolutely hate it and couldn't wait to get off the ship because they couldn't stand working in those kind of, situations. Sorry, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for. I'm getting so excited.
It's a unique environment.
It certainly is. So, I mean, if you're tailored to it and you can adapt, it's a wonderful job. I mean, you get to see the world. You get paid to see the world. You're in exotic ports almost every day, and that's really cool. And, even the ships that I was on when I was doing cruising, when I was in the same ports every week, we did St. Thomas, I don't know, twice a week, and you get tired of being there. But on the same token, you get to really learn more about the culture. You get to see where the locals go, and you start getting away from the touristy areas, if you will. So I loved it that I got to meet people, real people, not the, ones that you find selling, trinkets down at the docks, but you get invited to people's homes and you could see how people really live. And that was fascinating to me. I loved that portion of it and the interaction with the natives.
But you work a lot, right? I mean, you're just working every day.
Well, and again, it also depends on what department you're working on. The people who are more in the industry side, the waiters, the waitresses, the room stewards, those people, they work like dogs and they've got very little time off. Fortunately, I was in the entertainment side of things and I was off in every port and didn't have to report till 6:00 most nights, which was pretty awesome. And
nice.
The only place I wasn't allowed in the ship was in the casino. Other than that, I had full, passenger status, which was super cool.
That is really cool. So you must have visited a bunch of different ports in Florida, or did you only go to, how did that work? Because if you're based in Florida, right, the whole time that you were in the cruising industry, or no?
No, not the whole time. But, I mean, there were certain contracts within those 15 years that I was either out of Fort Lauderdale or out of Miami. And, we'd stop in, Key West. That was one of the bigger Florida ports.
Where we just were. It was awesome.
Right? And then the Caribbean from there. I did very few actual Florida stops, though, along the way. Unless, of course, we were doing a repositioning, coming from California through the Panama Canal around Florida and then back up to New York or Canada or something. But very rarely did we stop anywhere outside of Fort Lauderdale or Miami or Key West. But I know there are ones that go out of Cape Canaveral now.
Who are some of the weirder people who you got to meet on the ship? Were the passengers weirder or the people who worked on the ship? Who was weirder?
That is an awesome question, and it's kind of
that's a Jemmy question right there.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was the weirdest person on the ship at all times.
I'd probably make a good bet on that too.
I don't know. In the 15 years, you meet so many people. It's really hard to say. There was a good balance of each. Both the the weirdos that would cruise with us regularly, and just the people that were trying to run away from something back on land, so they took a cruise job to avoid it all. But, I mean, there is always some kind of irate spouse waiting in the parking lot when the ship came to dock, for some employee who's been skipping out on child support or something. We saw a lot of that.
I'm sure that's interesting. And all, there was this lady I heard about. She was a retired senior. I heard about her a couple years ago, and I don't remember what ship she was on or whatever, but the passengers used to think that she was some sort of celebrity because she was just a passenger herself, but she lived on the ship. She never left.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that a lot?
All the time. In fact, one of the first cruise lines I worked with, are we allowed to mention cruise lines?
Sure.
Yeah.
Specifically? Okay. It was Royal Viking Cruise Lines, and these were small ships, maybe, 400 passengers tops. So it was almost a ratio of 2 crew to every 1 cruising person.
Oh, wow.
But it was more geared toward the wealthy people. So it was 80-year-olds and their parents were on cruise ships.
What?
So to give you an idea of how old they were.
So tons of urns just all over the...
Right. There were. But these were the people that could afford to not go into retirement homes, and they just lived on the ship. And, they traveled, and these were world cruises that they'd go on, and they would just do that all the time. That's all they do is live on the ship. And if you think about it, it's really great. There's, there's a hospital on board. There's you're getting fed. You're being entertained. You're in a different port everywhere. You don't have to deal with airports and all that other stuff.
You don't have to pack or unpack. It's perfect.
Yeah, she's like, it's having your own personal chef, maid, butler, everything. sounds fantastic.
Seriously.
She figured it out.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a great idea.
I do too. Sign me up.
Did you get to see any of the suites when you were on the ship?
I had a pretty big one because my buddy Charlotte was my roommate and she is in a wheelchair. So we had a larger stateroom to accommodate that.
What kind of entertaining were you doing, by the way?
Oh, yeah.
I did Comedy Magic for years.
Oh, really?
So, did that. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So with all the different cruise ships you worked on and all the different things you saw, was there a favorite? I mean, was there a favorite ship?
I really loved, I worked on the inaugural cruise for Princess Cruise Lines on their Caribbean Princess.
Oh.
And that was, it was a gorgeous ship. It was the first ship that I had ever been on that was like brand spanking new, broke it in. And so that'll always hold a special place. It was a nice size ship. It was, one of the first of the big classes. And I think I still see it from time to time out of Fort Lauderdale.
All right. And now we have to ask you a question because this is for people who look, a lot of the group we just went on was a group of horse people with from my other podcast, and 80% of them was their first cruise. So if you're going to give first cruisers a tip or two, what would it be?
First of all, do not bring any illegal contraband on board with you. That is number one. They don't play when it comes to that sort of thing, both coming in and out of the country, and you don't want to be stuck in a Mexican prison. I'm just saying.
That's not the advice.
So that would be my
Scotty,
number
whatever.
one.
He was trying to get you into a Mexican prison.
Well, I know how much you love Mexico, Jemmy.
Now I see what your agenda was.
But that would be exactly. And then the podcast would all be mine. But that would be my first advice. Other than that, don't take as much as you think you would as far as packing wise goes, because you probably won't be wearing as much as you think you do. And if you feel like you're a seasick candidate, they've got those relief bands, and that's highly recommended. And that was one of the best things that I ever invested in. And there were times that I can't tell you how many hurricanes I've been through on ships. And so that thing saved my life, literally. The other thing I would recommend is the patches. Don't do it unless you enjoy hallucinating. I've seen so many funny stories of people with patches behind their ears.
Since we can't bring other contraband.
I'm wearing one right now, actually. I haven't been on a ship in 10 years, but I'm wearing one now.
What is the easiest thing you've ever heard someone try to get on a cruise ship with?
There was a ship that I was working on with another magician, and we were doing a recreation of the world famous bullet catch that, they did in vaudeville years ago.
Yeah.
And so to do that, obviously there was a whole entourage of people who would take the gun from us when we came on the ship, and they would store it in the special locker on the bridge, and they would bring it down with the safety officer. But I think that was one of the weirdest things I ever had to bring on board was that.
Well, no. I
think actual.
No. Scotty, I'm going to disagree. I've seen the pictures. I think some of the weirdest things you ever brought on board were your hairstyle and your clothes. It was a little bit much.
That must be a bad connection. I got to go.
Was it the 90s? Was it the 90s?
It was the 90s. And man, those MC Hammer pants were the bomb diggity.
Yeah. Keep telling yourself that. Hey, man, thank
style
you so
and
much
my
for
clothes.
for joining us today. We really appreciate chatting with you about cruising.
Thanks, Scotty.
Anytime. I'm always happy to help you guys. Great talking with you.
Yay.
All right, we'll get you on your first cruise after that excursion with us next time.
Yes. All right, let's do it.
All right, good. Well, I will say that our cruise went much better than the one that...
Thank the Lord.
I have to ask you, too. His name is Scotty Fusion. That has to be his stage name.
It's his legitimate name.
No, it is
That's
not.
all I have to say about that. It is a legitimate name. It is a legal name that he puts on forms. That's all I have to say about that.
I got to tell you, we really did enjoy our cruise. We had calm seas the whole time. The weather was beautiful. We didn't have a drop of rain the entire time we were out.
It was crazy. It was so
It really was. You're gonna hear on the next episode. But we wanted to talk a little bit about what we learned or how we felt about cruising as an option for vacation.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, this is my third one. Jennifer and I had done two others, one on Carnival and one on Royal Caribbean. This was our second Royal Caribbean cruise. One thing, I absolutely love Royal Caribbean. The people are so nice. The boarding process was a breeze.
It was really quick and easy. I mean, I don't have anything to compare it to. It was my first one, but it was really easy.
The first one we went on with Carnival was not that easy, and I don't want to bust Carnival here, but it was just a mess. So the two we've been on with Royal Caribbean were just simple. They have it down. They really do have it down, getting you your cards and getting you on board. But they're just, I mean, everything, the whole experience we just had a great time. And this was a smaller ship. This was one of their smaller ships and one of their oldest ships, I think. And it's going in for retrofit pretty soon.
The oldest one. That's
Enchantment of the Seas. Yeah. So it's going in for a refurbishment, I think, in April, actually.
Oh, we caught it just in time.
But I didn't go on it. It kind of had a Las Vegas feel when you walked into the lobby and things. It kind of had that Las Vegas feel.
That's true. I thought all cruises kind of felt like that, no?
No, the newer ships they got away from that a little bit, feeling like an old Las Vegas casino.
Gotcha.
And they'll probably do that. They'll probably get away from that a little bit when they redo this one.
Right.
But it really, I liked being on the smaller ship. The last cruise we took was on Oasis of the Seas, which is their largest ship. It's Oasis class ship and had 6,400 passengers. This one had 2,200, and I don't even think the ship was full. So it felt like a much smaller ship, but it was so easy to get everywhere. It
really was.
In 5 minutes, you could walk. On the Oasis, it was 15 minutes. If you had to go to dinner, you had to count on 15 minutes to get there.
Oh gosh, yeah. The dining hall was literally across the room from mine.
You were, you were right there.
Like the line backed up to our door, pretty much.
And some people I think that are connoisseurs of fine dining complain about the food at the dining rooms on cruise ship. We ate at the dining room every night.
It was
now we are not connoisseurs of fine dining, and we thought it was really good.
we were having the time of our lives. Yeah. Oh my gosh, their strip steak. I'm drooling right now. Just
you talked me into that one night. It was really good, but we might have had 2 dinners and 2 desserts some nights, most nights. And then quite a bit of alcohol was consumed on the ship by our group.
Yes, that is a tip we need to tell people. You can bring a bottle of wine per person onto a cruise, and so I definitely took advantage of that. And I had
your carry-on.
Yes, in your carry-on, and so
not in your check bag.
Right. It's very important. And I also brought along with me my world famous sippy cup. And so every day I filled that sucker with wine, walked around the cruise ship and had the time of my life.
She was the only child on this cruise with her sippy cup filled with wine.
It worked splendidly.
We might have brought a whole bottle of champagne in a sippy cup the one night to dinner.
Maybe. I don't know what you're talking about.
But we did have a good time. One of the things that Jemmy learned, and this is one of my favorite times on a ship, is to get up early and go walk on the decks before anybody gets up. Do that at least one morning and watch a sunrise. It is so beautiful and so quiet because there's nothing happening. Nobody's up. Everybody's got a hangover from the night before.
And know what else, though? It also gave me the chance to see the ship in a completely different way. And part of the reason I did it the very first time was because the first day you get on the ship, I mean, everyone's going where no one knows where they're going. Everyone's still figuring it out together. So it was kind of like bees just flying everywhere. So I didn't really get like a lay of the land with the ship. And I know you say bigger ships, it takes a while, but I really wanted to give myself a chance to really figure it out. So I thought, well, let me get up when no one else is up and just walk around distraction free. And I was like, wow, this is a really different experience. It's awesome. So I just did it every morning and it was lovely.
Coming into port is one of my favorite things too. Mm-hmm. Standing up on deck when you're coming into port. And I think one of the most magical times, and it was kind of bittersweet because we were ending our cruise, but was actually coming back into Miami. You, Jennifer, and I were on the front of the ship, and it was just getting daylight. It was dark, and then the sun came up as we were coming into the port of Miami. The lights were all on in the city. It was magical.
You know what, guys? I'm sorry, but I'm a little mad at all the other passengers on that ship who didn't take advantage of that moment. That deck was pretty much empty, and it was one of the most mind-blowing experiences of the whole entire trip.
It was magical.
It was beautiful. Really was. And it was also a marvel of technology, like the way that we went in and did that U-turn thing. We just kind of we didn't U-turn. We spun like a top. It was so cool. And then floated we parallel parked basically between
two other ships with about 10 feet on either end.
It
I couldn't
was
park my pickup truck in there.
It was, and the way we were standing, we were able to look down because the captain, you were telling me, has like this extra special deck on the side to be able to navigate that. So we were able to see him do. It was really, really cool. So people, take advantage of that. Odd times on the ship
every morning. Definitely check out the ports. You get to see the island. It's just neat. It's just neat to do. But you can get out of bed 10 minutes earlier and go do that.
Yes, you can.
But so we highly recommend cruising. I can't wait to go on the next one. We're going to actually book a next one for the Horse Lovers Cruise, and maybe we'll really promote it over here too, so we can get some fans of our show. They can join it. We'll just make it a combined cruise. That'd be a fun thing to do.
Do it.
That'd be a fun thing to do it. We'll make it a Finding Florida and Horse Lovers Cruise.
All right. Go cruising, people.
You'll hear more from the cruise in episode 5B.
Key West is close to perfect, but far from normal.
Well, the second part of our travels for this adventure was Key West. Mm-hmm. And I have some trivia for everybody before we get into learning more about Key West. And Jemmy has not seen these questions either. Nope. So here's some trivia for you. Now, to get to Key West, you have a choice. You can take a boat like we did. You can fly in, or you can drive. And Jemmy, that is one long drive from Miami to Key West.
It is.
And it's on this road that has a few bridges. How many bridges are there from the mainland of Florida to Key West? And it's multiple choice. 10, 23, or 42. That's how many bridges from the mainland of Florida to Key West. 10, 23, or 42.
Let me think. So I know that there are a ton of keys, and I know that the bridges hit land. They also hit coral rocks. So it's not just the keys. I'm going to go with the bigger number of 42.
Yay!
Really?
You are absolutely right. It is 42 bridges, which is why I will never drive that road.
Arsenio Hall.
I'm a bridge phobic, and I'll just never be driving that road.
That's true.
If I do, you'll have to drive, and I'll be under the seat.
So wait a minute. Is that the reason why that was your very first trip ever to Key West? Because it was the only way you could get in on a boat?
Or with fly-in. It ain't going to happen any other way. How many square miles is the island of Key West? 2, 8, or 16? Now, you've been there a couple times. You were just there.
I have.
You saw it from the boat. Actually, you could almost see the whole island from the boat on the top deck.
Oh, is that a clue?
Yes.
What are my choices again?
2, 8, or 16. This is square miles now.
Okay, it can't be 2. That just be walking 1 mile in every direction. It can't be 2. 8 or 16? I'm gonna go with 8.
Ding, ding, ding!
Yay!
It is 8. It's 4 miles by 2 miles. 4 miles long, 2 miles wide.
What? I'm kind of dumb. I probably should. If I use actual math, I probably would have guessed 16.
What was the original name for Key West, which means Island of Bones?
Oh, please.
Now, you should know this.
I should?
Yes. Because we did it in one interview.
Oh, we did.
Yes.
The
curator of the Hemingway House.
Owesto or something like that.
Yes, you're right.
Am I really right? Stop it, I'm not.
I don't know how to say it. It's Cayyohueso.
I just remember it was something that sounded like Key West.
Coyo Heso or something like that.
Okay, all right.
And it's a Spanish word, coyo, meaning small island. And early native inhabitants used the island as a mass graveyard, causing it to be littered with bones.
Yikes.
And Heso means bones.
Ooh.
So there you go. What airline, you should know this too. This came up. What large airline was founded in Key West in 1927?
Is it still around? Can you tell me that? Is it an airline that's still around?
It was mentioned in our interview.
Pan Am.
Yes, Pan
No
Am.
way!
With its first flight on October 18th, 1927 to deliver mail between Cuba and the United States under contract with the United States Postal Service.
I totally just... Because you know what? For some reason, I remembered that I thought I remembered that Pan Am started in Hawaii, but it's the only thing I could think of. I just said
No,
Pan Am.
Matter of fact, the Pan Am office is still there.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. Who is Duval Street named after? Now, we were on Duval Street. We might have had a few alcoholic beverages and some food along the way. You had some conch along the way in Duval Street.
Oh, I forgot to force feed you conch. Darn it.
That wasn't happening.
Totally forgot. All right. So I'm going to say it is named after the world-renowned French Renaissance painter of Charles Duval.
Absolutely wrong. Key West's Main Street is named after Florida's first territorial governor, William Pope Duval.
Oh, gosh, I thought you were going to go somewhere else. I thought you were going to say Key West's first terrorist.
No, or pirate. No. He served between 1822 and 1834. So I don't know why you didn't remember that.
Give me
one more.
Yes.
Name one of the books that Hemingway is said to have written on Key West.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, this is also in the interview you can hear in the next episode.
I apologize to every single English teacher I ever had in my entire educational career. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on Ernest Hemingway. The six-toed cat is staring at me, ... again.
We saw some of those.
Is that the title?
Six-toed cats? No. All right. So one of the books, well, you had many to choose from because you wrote many books on Key West. A Farewell to Arms is one.
Oh, goodness, Jemmy.
Death in the Afternoon, For Whom the Bell Tolls, The Snows of Kilimanjaro, and The Short Happy Life of Francis Macomber.
Okay, and I would have gotten two of those. I should have gotten Farewell to Arms and the other one. But
From Whom the Bell Tolls.
Thank you.
Yes. So there you go. There was a quick trivia about Key West. And of course, you know, Ernest Hemingway, Tennessee Williams, Robert Frost, Jimmy Buffett have all been there.
Judy Blume lives there still right now.
Yes. Yeah. She's written like 1,000 books.
You go, girl, Judy Blume.
There's so many signature things in Key West, too, which you're going to hear in the next episode. We got to do a lot of them. But, you know, there's a lot of Bohemian influence there, French, Cuban heritage, because it's only 90 miles from Cuba.
Yeah, that's why it reminds me so much of New Orleans. I keep calling it New Orleans, too, because they have the same influences, a lot of them,
Yeah, but one of the things you don't have in New Orleans is 1 million chickens. There are chickens freaking everywhere. It's just
that
roosters
is so
and chickens
true. Everywhere you look, there's a chicken.
I don't know. Some chickens got loose and nobody ever caught them, and now they've populated, and now there's just chickens everywhere.
You know, I wonder if you're sitting outside having lunch and you're eating a piece of chicken, and a chicken walks up to you. Do you slowly just avert his eye contact?
I figure it's cheaper for the Chinese restaurants in Key West.
You're probably right. You know, that's a good thought. I wonder why they wasn't littered with Chinese restaurants in Key West.
Sorry about that. All right,
dropping ideas.
The other thing is the temperature is really good there. I mean, it's really good there almost all the time. It was beautiful the day we were there. And you're going to hear an interview we did with a photographer who's been there for 40 years in the next episode, who really talked about some of the famous people that he's met. You know, everybody vacations there at some time or another. It really does have the feel, as you said, as a small New Orleans, better smelling small New Orleans.
It even has the above ground cemetery like New Orleans.
Yes.
And ghost tours and all of that. I know.
We're going back to Key West. There's so much we didn't get to do.
I know.
And the tourist bureau down there really did help us. Thanks to them for all the help they did.
100%.
But yeah, Key West is just a neat place. There's the bars, and you know, even if you're not into drinking or bars, there was a lot of other things to do there, museums and other stuff.
Totally. And you know, when I was looking up stuff about Key West and really diving into the history and the people and all of that, I found a couple of stories I'd like to share with you.
Yeah.
So there's this idea that has percolated from Key West, and it was started by a local artist, graphic designer, J.T. Thompson. He's always been a philosopher of the idea of inclusiveness, and that's actually why he came to Key West in the first place. Because Key West has that whole air to it. You know, it's love your brother, sister, love your neighbor. So he came up with this concept called One Human Family. And with his graphic design background, he basically reached out, started a sticker company with some friends. So on January 1st, 2000, start of the millennium, they started handing out these free stickers that said One Human Family. And then October of that year, Key West, their city commission unanimously adopted one human family as the island's official philosophy. So it can just take one person to help spread a really positive message. And a few months after that, the whole entire Monroe County adopted it. And, today it's just a message that resonates throughout the world. They've apparently given away 2.5 million free bumper stickers throughout the entire world. 95 countries have people who've ordered these stickers. It's crazy. So here's my question for you, Glenn. How much do you think Monroe County spends to fund these stickers every year?
$1 million.
Wrong. It's actually, and this totally, again, plays into their whole philosophy, all volunteer, non-profit group of people. They spearhead the stickers distribution, they do the printing, the mailing, and everything is funded by donations. It costs the counting $0. And I actually first heard of One Human Family stickers a few years ago. Well, I kept looking in my apartment and I found
You found one?
So this one's for you.
You do have it.
This one's for you, Glenn. It says, one human family. All people are created equal members of one human family. So I'm going to share in the show notes how you can get your own Key West One Human Family sticker.
Very cool. Very cool.
And the second thing I want to tell you about is Robert the Doll, who is famous.
Was it before 2000? Was it United Under the Cloud of Marijuana Smoke? Was that the bumper sticker? It's the real reason most people went to Key
Marijuana
West.
Smoke and Fantasy Fest.
Yeah, that's right. That's the reason people went in the first place. Let's be honest.
Oh, please. That's still the only reason. Let's really be honest. But another reason people go is to check out this really creepy and really popular paranormal pop star named Robert the Doll. It is this super creepy.
Okay, we did not see Robert the Doll, and I'm kind of happy about that.
No. So it was given to a boy in 1904 by a nanny who supposedly practiced voodoo, right? So the kid, his name is Robert. He named the doll after himself, which is also creepy. I'm sorry. It's just weird. It gets even worse. So he used to go around and blame this doll for like all the mischief he would cause and stuff. And when he grew up, the kid, and got married, he actually gave the doll its own room in the house. So weird. And apparently, kids used to pass by the house and they would say that they saw the doll staring at them and leering at them from the windows. And some guy who was working on the property said that he heard the doll giggling at him. So weird. So anyway, the guy died in 1974 and the doll ended up at the Fort East Martello Museum. And since then, it's continued its reputation because they started getting letter after letter after letter after letter of visitors who would say that they took pictures of the doll. And then when they developed the film, the pictures were all messed up, but just the pictures of the doll. And so it's a theory that you have to ask Robert permission before you can take his picture. Isn't that crazy? He's been featured on Travel Channel, Discovery Channel, a bunch of different things. And in fact, when they were filming for something on the Clear Channel was filming there. And yeah, their whole entire film reel that featured Robert got completely, inexplicably destroyed. So Robert the Doll, another reason to visit Key West. And one last thing, Glenn, that I found that I thought was extraordinary. There are a ton of webcams that are live broadcasting all the time on Key West. So you can go to fla-keys.com and find the webcam section, look up Key West and go and see all kinds of stuff. And basically, if you need to know anything about Key West, go to fla-keys.com.
And of course, tune in to the next episode, 5B, in the next day or two, and you're going to hear a lot more of our adventures from Key West and some of the really interesting people and animals we met there.
Absolutely. So guess what time it is, Glenn?
What time is it?
It's time for us to find out more fun stuff about the state of Florida.
Florida, where you get school credit for learning to water ski.
We're probably going to move through these pretty quickly here, so here we go. For this episode's mystery sound, you're not allowed to guess, Glenn.
Okay.
Because I am fairly certain that you're going to know the answer. So you're not
I haven't
allowed
listened to this
guess.
yet. All right.
I didn't pull it from YouTube like I have before. It's a little inside secret. I actually recorded this one right from my balcony. So that is clue number 1. Play the clip, Glenn.
I know what it is.
I knew you would. I so knew you would. All right. Well, clue number 2 for all that are listening is that if you go to the FPN Insiders group on Facebook, you'll see that I've posted a couple of pictures in there of the thing that makes that noise. So that should make it super easy. And we're going to play it here again. So you want to listen up. Be the first person to email me with the correct answer, and you'll get a piece of FFP swag. My email is Jemmy, that's Jaime, at FloridaPodcastNetwork.com. And here's the clip one more time. Roll it, Glenn. So we have a new segment this month called FML, and that stands for Florida. Ugh, my life. All right. So, Glenn, I want you to, again, close your eyes and picture this. It is a beautiful January morning, and you're just a Marion County man out for a quiet day of fishing at the Carney Island Rec and Conservation Area. So you drive out there with your boat hitched up to your SUV, a Cadillac Escalade, no less, and head out there. You get there and you start backing up, pushing your boat onto that boat ramp. It looks to be just about in the right spot. So you start to apply the brakes, and as you focus in the rearview mirror, you catch a glimpse of the sun. You go to put your fancy SUV in park, and you can't. You try to brake in. Oh my gosh, you can't. Back out the rear view again. You see you, the SUV, and the boat are all still rolling backwards. You're furiously hitting the brakes harder and harder, but there's no stopping this catastrophe. You roll well past a pair of signs that bear an arrow and the words, "Caution, end of ramp." You see your boat slip out of view, and you know you and your Escalade are right behind it. So with little other choice, you jump. The only things fished out of the water that day were you, your boat, and your Cadillac Escalade by the Marion County Sheriff's Office Underwater Recovery Team.
That's an expensive mistake. Now, do you think their brakes really gave out, or he just was drunk? Was alcohol involved in this one?
But the sheriff's office, no. But the sheriff's office, they had a little fun with this on Facebook. They posted the story with a bunch of pictures. Of
yeah,
the car in the
Escalade
water.
underwater. I mean, completely underwater.
And they ended their post with a boating safety tip. What do you think that safety tip
I
said,
don't know.
Glenn?
I can't wait.
It said, and I quote, "Remember, boating safety begins at the ramp." And then they said, "For boating safety tips and education, visit," and then they have their website.
That's about $100,000 mistake, right? I mean, that's
So good.
Does your insurance company cover that?
Oh man, I don't think so. Is there an idiot clause? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Glenn, a 26-year-old Indian town man was accused of stealing a bunch of food items from a Rhines market. What do you think he took, Glenn?
Lobsters. It's always lobsters. Did he put them in his pants? Because if he put them in his pants, it's lobsters. And
Totally
I never
put
understood
him in his
that
pants.
because
100%. I know. Seems like the wrong place to put a lobster.
Let me just say, for full disclosure, I would not put a lobster in my pants. That's something I would never do.
Well, I don't know if this guy would or not because it wasn't lobster, but it was 9 pieces of fried chicken, some mashed potatoes.
No.
True story. 2, not 1, but 2 packs of hamburger buns. Whether it was for the fried chicken or the mashed potatoes,
ruin your
we're
pants.
unsure. And to top it all off, because the meal is yet incomplete.
Yeah.
To top it all off, a full rack of ribs.
Of course, because, it is the South.
Whether they're beef or pork is unreported, but a full rack of ribs for a total price tag of $32.49. Oh my gosh. And no surprise, authorities said the man smelled a little like alcohol and was intoxicated.
Only in Florida.
Well, thanks for coming along with us once again as we are Finding Florida.
Cruising is such a magical way to explore other parts of Florida and the surrounding areas in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. But there's so much to do also at one of the ports that you can go to, and that's Key West. Mm-hmm. And we give you that inside peek on our next episode, episode 5B. When will that be out?
It should be out tomorrow.
Good. And for our next adventure, we head to Billy's Swamp Safari. We'll be meeting a bunch of people from the Seminole Indian Reservation. We're going to go on an airboat ride. We're going to see a battle reenactment.
I get to play with snakes.
Jemmy's going to play with snakes. I will be not playing with snakes. We're going to go on an air buggy tour and a whole bunch more. Who knew that there was that much to do at the Seminole Indian Reservation near the Everglades? But there is a ton to do there, and we're going to bring it to you next month. It's going to be so much fun.
So head to billyswamp.com. That's BILLIE swamp.com for a sneak peek of what that will be like for us. And to find us on social media, just head to findingfloridapodcast.com for all the links or search for Find FL Podcast. Hook up with our new Finding Florida Podcast YouTube channel for behind-the-scenes videos of our adventures.
And here's to your next adventure.
So the first thing here is we're going to be talking about fun facts about cruising. Did you look at these at all? No.
Yep. Yes, I did.
Did you really?
Yeah. Just now.
And he's showing us another place that we could go. It's just kind of the way that New Orleans is. So, anyways, he said that...
Cut. Kind of the way that Key West is.
Darn it! Well, thanks along for coming.
Thanks along? Thanks along.
Fudge up.
We head to Billy's Swamp Safari. We'll be meeting a bunch of people from the Seminole Indian Reservation.
Glenn. There's no guy named Billy.
Billy's Swamp Safari.
He said Billy's
did I?
Swamp Safari.
All right. Well, there's probably a guy named Billy. And for our next adventure, we head to Billy's Swamp.
I'm still laughing. You have to wait for me to stop laughing. What are you doing?
Just moving on. Yeah, I think it came out good. And we're getting better. I'm not screwing up as much. Well, let me rephrase that. I'm getting better. I'm not screwing up as much.
I'm glad. I appreciate the clarification. I'm perfect. Never forget.
Oh, you'll get a few bloopers out of that.
Just a few.